Okay. So coming into this piece, we've been exploring an idea, and we're going to kind of depend on a successful exploration of that idea for the next move. And that idea is we want to feel something that we can't objectively measure, right? Like blood pressure or body temperature. Um, so maybe it's analogous to pain levels. We don't have a good way to measure that, so we interrogate people. What is it on a scale of 1 to 10? That's kind of the best we can do, even though your scale of 1 to 10 is likely to differ from yours. Whereas if you think you're running hot or cold, it doesn't really much matter what you say. I have a thermometer, and the same thermometer, once I clean it, will work on you, and that's a good measure. And so what we're talking about here is feeling a quality of energy, a a locality of energy, an expression of energy. I'm purposely saying energy to be vague because everybody's going to have a different word, and your word might not make you happy to hear. Your word might not fit with your experience, even though we might be having the same experience and using different words because of our backgrounds, because of our beliefs, because of our interest in language. Somebody might just, any word is fine, that's fine, we'll call it that. And somebody else might really dig down and say, not accurate enough, what's a better word? Um, so, um, Similarly, if we were to talk about something very intimate with another person who maybe isn't your intimate partner, like talking about something like sex, um, probably everybody's going to agree, well, at least we know it's in the good feeling category. Okay. But once we get kind of beyond that, A, people are going to feel very personal, maybe very ashamed, very private, very unfamiliar with helpful language to describe it because they haven't talked about it much. And also, it's like the pain level thing. I don't even know if I can accurately convey it to you or you to me or anything else. But luckily, our culture lets us not have to talk about it much, so it doesn't really come up, and that's fine. But it's like the pain level thing. I can't quite be sure you know what my feeling is through words of communication. But if we're willing to work, we can get somewhat closer, and that might be adequate. But we should know that we're never going to arrive at the same certainty of understanding through our verbal communication or written communication as we might with a thermometer. Like, look, this is what the scale says. That's pretty easy. And so, um, in this sequence, the way I was taught it is that we're really talking about feeling chi. But that's not something I spend an awful lot of time talking about, even though I teach these arts that have a lot to do with chi. For me, the idea of chi doesn't serve very well in most teaching circumstances because it's this problem of do you really know what I mean when I say it? And you seem to think you know what I mean, but do I know what it is that you think, even though you're nodding your head? I don't know. And again, we could talk a lot and maybe get a little closer, but we can't really get at an objective shared understanding, right? We can just bring our subjectivities closer through communication and companionship and time and diligence, I guess. So if you start off by saying there's no such thing as chi, that's fine by me. I can functionally understand the art and the actions and the functions and the reasonings without the term. But the term also really helps people access some ability to discuss things that don't have good objective measures. And it might really help people access things from kind of a different sort of non scientific brain, maybe a poetic brain or a non rational brain, an emotional place. And that's very healthful as well. So, the point I wanted to get to is that my teacher would say something like, feel the chi here in this qigong, or in this qigong, feel the chi in your knees or whatever. And 4 people out of 10 would nod their heads. So, oh my God, I feel that too. And 3 people would kind of, more or less be no such thing. You're not reaching me. And a few people would, I think I might, no, I don't. Was that it? I have more questions. There was a moment that but now, or not yet, but I can't wait. Everybody's kind of different. But what he would say, and I've had a couple teachers say that, so it's not just him. Um, when we're talking about something like the teaching involves your use of chi as that idea, um, where you don't feel, imagine first, right? And it isn't imagine like I'm going to take on a belief that I don't have and then feed myself an illusion. That's not the idea. But the idea is to imagine so that the being functionally responds the way that it would as if it held that experience. And teachers that I had, say, a version of this that were all about getting everybody to feel the chi and manipulate the chi and pass it on and sign a certificate about you're a chi healer or whatever. Their argument was imagine until you feel, right? Because that's their end game. I want you to feel this thing. But it's probably like sex or love or pain. Like, I want somebody else to understand what my experience is, but there aren't not quality tools to reliably relate that experience with certainty. But I still try. I can't help it. I'm going to talk about my pain. I'm going to talk about how in love I am, etc. So the practice of imagine until you feel is not to simply visualize, although visualization might be a component of imagination. It isn't just visualize chi, because that's at a mental remove when you visualize. I'm seeing a thing and having thoughts about it, designing it. I want to imagine it, right? So it's more like you're there. I kind of think I've never been to Disney World or something, but I imagine it's if you read a book about Disneyland or whatever the world they've created is, it's a little bit more of a visualization. But when you go there and you see Mickey Mouse in the castle or whatever, it's probably much easier to imagine it because you're kind of all your senses, you're in it. I don't know. I haven't had that experience, but that's what it seems like. So the practice in doing these is to actually imagine that you're having the feeling. If you're already having the feeling, you don't need to go backwards and imagine, just go with that. That's fine. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah. I haven't seen a teacher take the time to do this lesson. They just say, there's no such thing as chi, follow me. Or you have to feel chi. Oh, you're feeling it. Good. Here's what you need to do. When you get it, you'll know. And it's the most important thing ever. And they just evangelize it. And it's a necessary experience. Other teachers, I don't care. Chi is this thing that stupid people do when they talk about Tai Chi. All I care about is hitting the guy. And I think it's really important to be able to imagine it, even if you don't believe it. But imagination might be understood as the the being's belief in the moment of an experience, as opposed to your brain's belief before or after an experience. Yeah. So since I want to teach this talking about chi, I wanted to give you guys this sort of intro to it because it's not something normally I talk about, certainly much like a lot of teachers do, but I don't have anything against it. I just think the term can serve us where it serves us, and it doesn't serve us where it doesn't serve us, and that's it. Okay.